Hi, I'm Tim Tuller, canon for music at St. John's Cathedral. I'm going to say just a couple of words about the music for this Sunday, August 27th, Rally Day. Our opening prelude is entitled A Solemn Melody by English composer Henry Walford Davies. Davies lived from 1869 to 1941, and he held a number of posts. Probably the most well-remembered was his over 20 years at the Temple Church in London, where he was the director of music and organist. The Solemn Melody actually dates from 1908, and it was originally written for organ and strings. And it's probably become Davies' best remembered piece. It has a wonderful, noble, and kind of reflective melody that starts out at the very beginning of the piece, rather slowly, and it gradually builds and builds until the full organ comes in, and then it finally gradually recedes off into a quiet ending. It's actually a piece that's it's often played for memorial services and state occasions, and it influenced a lot of other composers in England to write similar types of pieces. The melody is one of the greatest ever written in organ music. Our offertory anthem is entitled Great and Marvelous by Alabama composer Alan Orton Gibbs. This is actually a woman, a Methodist woman, who was very active in the music scene around Birmingham, Alabama in the mid-20th century. She was born in 1910 and she died in 1996, and she attended what was originally called the Birmingham Conservatory of Music, which later became Birmingham Southern. And then after she graduated in later years, she actually taught there and was a very, very well-remembered fixture there. She wrote a lot of organ music, a lot of choir music, mostly sacred in nature. She was a well-renowned pianist as well as an organist and composer and teacher. Great and Marvelous is a rather conservative piece. It's very rousing, and it shows off her gift for melody and some innovative harmonic work inside it. The postlude this Sunday is probably one of the most legendary pieces ever written for the organ. It is the toccata from the Fifth Symphony by French composer Charles-Marie Widor. Widor was active at a time in France when the organ world was undergoing an immense revolution due to the coming of electricity and electrical power. In the mid to late 19th century, electricity just absolutely revolutionized organ building and then organ composition and performance. Organs became much larger in size, developed a far larger tonal palette, and they got to the point where they could really compete with full symphony orchestras in terms of color and dynamic range. And composers came on the scene to really exploit this, such as César Franck, Charles-Marie Widor, and countless others. Widor was a central figure in this development, and he wrote 10 symphonies for organ. The Fifth Symphony was written in 1879, and it contains the famous toccata as the last movement. And in this one movement, Widor really created basically a new genre of organ music, which reverberates to this very day. It consists of rapid manual figurations or patterns over top of a thundering melody in the pedals. And this is what's made his toccata so famous. And there are countless other examples that were written afterwards by a multitude of composers, mostly French, but others as well. Léon Boelmann, Eugene Gigoux, Marcel Dupré, Louis Vierne. All of them were heavily influenced by the work of Widor, in particular, this toccata. Widor was based at Saint-Sulpice in Paris, one of the most prestigious organ jobs in really the world. And he was there for 64 years, from the time he was 25 until he finally retired at age 89. And so he had an incredible tenure at Saint-Sulpice, and that church had one of the biggest and best of all the French organs, and it inspired his compositions. I hope you enjoy the music this Sunday.